Well, good afternoon, Scott Baker. I think we're going to touch the third rail today.
Okay. Yeah. We just like brush by it, or are we gonna like grab it with both hands? Am I gonna lick it like that pole in the Christmas Story movie?
We're going to
Right?
take
Yeah.
it take it all the way in. Yeah, so usually it's religion and politics that are the things
hmm
that you don't talk about that, but no one ever talks about. You don't talk about money, right? You don't talk
Yeah,
about money.
it is a tricky thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The field note today, welcome, by the way, everybody watching, listening to Lead Better here. We're talking about today's field note and the field note for the 16th of November, 2025. Field note 1620, actually, is leaders who overemphasize compensation create, and I'm going to pause here because a lot of people are like, create what? Mercenaries.
Yeah.
All right. Now, is that a bad word? It could be a good word. I think we'll see where it goes. But all right, we're talking about people who overemphasize compensation and what happens when we do that.
Right. Okay. So this is about a leader's approach to like how often they should bring up money if they're going to be competing for talent. Then obviously they need to emphasize, employee and benefit packages and their payment and their salary in such a way so that I want the best people, so I have to pay for the best people. But at the end of the day, it's like if you compete in that arena where it's like I'm paying for the best, then are you inadvertently creating a whole culture of people who are like just looking for the best offer?
Yeah. Right.
Is that what you're doing to people, right?
Yeah. Well, and obviously that happens in an organization, but it also happens. We see it in leagues. Like you start paying one power forward on a basketball team a certain amount, or you pay one outside linebacker a certain amount,
Right.
and all of a sudden everybody's like, well, wait a minute, I need that money too. And you're like, you're already making $132 million on your four-year deal. Does 138 million make you better?
Right.
Like, are you gonna get more tackle? It's probably be the same.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Well, where are we? So we all have this internal meter about what are we worth. We kind of try to read the organizational sort of world out there where we sit. There's this comparison factor that is a big part of what's in the field note. But here's my question, Mikey. When's the last time you in your house in Texas that you saw a mouse?
Oh, just 2 days ago, actually.
2 days ago, you had a mouse.
And it was outside. And what we're predicting is that we had a neighbor or somebody across the street put some poison out because we had like 4 or 5 mice. They didn't seem big enough to be rats, but come into our own backyard. And so we had 3 or 4 dogs go after these sluggish mice that were still together for some reason. Anyway, it was recent.
So
I hope I didn't destroy your point.
No, not at all. And I haven't. So, my office, my home office, is over a detached garage. Now, there's a garage that's part of the house. It's across the driveway. And over here in the detached garage, there's a little more wildlife. Sometimes hear maybe squirrels in the ceiling. I'm not sure. My gym is down below. The other day, I'm in there. All of a sudden, really shocked chipmunk is looking at me. I'm probably shocked, but the chipmunk's like, oh, wait, this is not what I was expecting to encounter. Right. Now, the reason I'm asking this question is that David Perel, who I've spent a little bit of time with, well known for his his writing cohorts of creating world-class writers, his podcast on writing. He recently moved back from Austin, Texas to New York City. And so he did a post the other day that got a lot of traction. I'm just going to swing down. Yeah, it's got a couple thousand, likes and distribution. But it was on his thoughts about moving back to New York City. And one of the things he was evaluating was the way money is evaluated in the culture. And he was saying, when I lived in Austin, I didn't see how huge increases in my income would improve or even change how I lived very much. New York is different. Quality of life here correlates much higher to spending power. So New Yorkers are much more intensely money motivated, he says. Yes. And he uses his first 3 apartments as examples. Now, I think this was back when before he moved to Austin, when he was back in New York originally. He said, each move was an upgrade, not because I got more square footage, more natural light, but because I wouldn't have to deal with as many mice. In my first place, I saw one every month. In my second, a few per year. And by the third, no mice. I was like, I don't think I have ever heard the mice measurement factor in terms of how much money am I making? Where do I live? And I'm going to measure this by the number of mice I see.
Yeah.
But David's measure is mice, but you know that everybody in your organization, everybody in your sort of field or your area of industry, there's some equivalent metric going on, right?
Yes. And I think for a lot of people, they refer to, what is it called? The money happiness curve, right?
Right. That comes up. Like, when do people, when does, any money you make on top of this is more money, but you're not any happier.
But in whatever the hierarchy of needs, before you can even start talking about the money happiness, you need to eliminate all the mice first. And then Then you can talk about the money.
The vermin factor must be contended with before. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. And so, but it's an interesting thing because it's in the last couple of years, there's been a challenge to the idea of, where that equilibrium was. Like, some people were thinking provided, and so it depends on inflation as well, provided you have, a year's worth of annual income stored up, then there's not more happiness if you have 2 times or 3 times or 4 times that. So millionaires who have all kinds of disposable income don't have a higher rate of happiness or life satisfaction score than those that have just above this 1 year of annual income stored up, right? And so, but there's been a bit of a challenge to that. And now there seems to be 3 tiers, right? There's the lower end people who have a low life satisfaction score, and they clearly are represented with a lower income. But the 500,000 kind of people who are like, oh, I've got 4 or 5 times my annual income that I make in a year here, they have a certain life satisfaction. Millionaires are now kind of reporting at even a higher level to that. I think it was just because of the way that the study was done, though. I don't think that it's necessarily, so there's a lot to be said and kind of understood about whether, and I know that those without money would be like, can I be part of this, the control group that gets the extra money so that you can test me to see if my happiness goes up, right? And so when we actually look at like what that life satisfaction is compared to the money, then we apply it to what we're talking about here in the field note of like, should we even be, dangling money out in front of people as the leading thing that we're recruiting people into our organization? There's probably a much bigger conversation to have. Now, most people are just trying to get to that basic level, right?
Yeah, right.
I just got past the mice level, right? So now I'm getting into the idea of like, so can you please, I need that kind of life and
people also want a certain level of predictability and certainty, and we certainly have now. I think we're seeing this in younger workers coming into the workforce or in their first 10 years, where the uncertainty of where everything is in hiring and staffing and layoffs and Verizon just announced 10,000 new layoffs that they're going to do, and so it creates an overall sense. By the way, I'm sure that will mean better customer service is probably what all Verizon customers are thinking. Great, I can't get anybody on the phone already. Right. Now, the question here, though, is that you as an organization, how you incentivize people. This is what's really at the heart of. And, obviously, Warren Buffett was just stepping down and Charlie Munger passed away. And Charlie used to say that if you as an organization can be working on how we're incentivizing the team, we really shouldn't be thinking about anything else. Like, it's just the thing that drives everything. But that doesn't always mean money. And it doesn't always mean not money. So part of this is, if you're going to overweight money, as the field note says, you're going to create mercenaries. But if you underweight money, you're just going to create apathy or absence because they're going to go someplace else.
Right. And so that's the point. Most people who are like, if you're perceived as someone who's downplaying the idea of emphasizing money, you'll have a slew of workers who are going to be like, oh, it's just propaganda for management to be able to say, let's not talk about money. But that probably gives an indication that your wage package is probably not at the level that it needs to be.
Right.
And so I think what we're talking about here is on that competitive level, right?
Sure.
when you're trying to attract the best, right? Then that's when this equation needs to come into your mind. If all you're doing to attract the best people is just increasing the pay package, you're operating it from a completely different point of view. And therefore, all the other motivations that are out there need to be considered. What are a few others besides compensation?
Yeah, and we all know, just even for ourselves, that if you have intrinsic driven desire for a certain kind of production,
yes,
there will be people that will take a job that they know they could make more if they were doing something else, but they've chosen to do this thing because they just love it, right? They just know that. And I just had somebody that was telling me the other day about a granddaughter who had been in culinary school, and then all of her classmates were talking about recipes after class and at night, and she just wanted to paint. And she had left art school, but she realized after a long time, I'll have a stable job if I get this. And if I keep cooking, I will have like opportunities that I might not have, but I have to go paint. That's going to be true for a lot of people. Now, when you can, as a good leader, create enthusiasm of saying, if you're joining us, you're joining not just an organization, but there's some kind of mission. It doesn't have to be the most grandiose thing in the world, but here's how we're changing the world. Here's how we're making our customers' lives better. Here's how you're becoming a better person. Yesterday, we talked about leadership development plans. We're helping you learn new skills. We're helping you gain experiences and deepen relationships and deepen knowledge that just make you feel more fulfilled in the world. And in fact, you could probably go across town and make a little bit more money, but they have this, this, and this, and your life is going to be poorer for it. And a lot of people will say, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. The day before that, we even talked about loyalty in such a way that leaders who are, would like to think I'm creating a loyal team, people that are going to stick with me. Like I've got a project that is maybe 18 months long and I need you to be around for it. And so the idea that you would even consider to leave 3 months into this 18-month project is completely disloyal. And so I don't want you to be thinking that, but it ebbs and flows in society as to what people are going to be prioritized about. If you as a leader aren't thinking about all the different ways that people are motivated, and you think that you're creating loyalty because you gave them a great pay package, it's only as good as your competitive pay packages. $1 more means no loyalty.
Exactly right.
I don't want that kind of relationship with people, right?
Right.
I'd actually develop a meaningful one that actually is worth more than $1.
Now, what's funny is, and this was sort of true in my early career, I don't advise this to most people. When I was first looking for a job in television, and I was driving city to city and like tricking my way in the front door of the television station to talk to the news director, I probably did that 30 or 40 times before I actually got a job, as a reporter, part-time reporter in Erie, Pennsylvania. And they were like, well, it pays this. Well, I took like about a 60 or 70% pay cut, leaving a job that offer in Washington, D.C. to go take this job, because television reporters at an entry level, it's kind of minimum wage. Very few jobs. Lots of people would like to do that job, at least back when I was doing it in the mid 80s. Different kind of story now, and I'm sure. But what I said to the news director at the time is, he said, "Well, here's what our pay is, and if you do this, and you might get there, and if this would happen, and maybe within a year." And I said, "George, I'm going to come and do this job. You pay me whatever you think I should make. In fact, I'm going to do a certain, I'll probably do overtime. I'm actually not going to fill out my timesheet." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "No, I'm not creating more work for you. What I'm telling you is there's no amount of money." And I said it to him, as a 2 or 3-year-old. There's no amount of money that you will be able to pay me that will be worth how hard I'm going to work at this job. Now, I'll work that hard. You can decide what my timesheet looks like and what you're going to pay me.
Yes.
And if the time comes where I don't feel that that's the right thing, then I'm going to move on. But it's going to be, I'm not going to demand anything of you.
But if he had wrongly interpreted what you said to mean there's no little amount of money that can make me quit.
Well, yes. And I think that was on the thing. As I'm saying, it's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work this hard, but I will go at the end of my contract or whatever that looks like. Now, I got promoted and promoted again, and probably I doubled or tripled my salary within a year, right? In terms of what I was being offered back there in 1987. So now what's funny is I've had a lot of high paying jobs and medium paying jobs and a lot of things I've done for free. And I would say even at this stage of my life, I'm kind of back there where I'm kind of like doing projects and things and saying, well, I'm just going to do this no matter what the actual pay is. And I'm just going to count on however it works out is however it's going to works out. And for the people that it matters to them. And so I kind of go around, with that view. Now, I do think that we have to look at this in the way that you just outlined. And Naval Ravikant talks about the fact that, look, rich people don't have, Jeff Bezos doesn't have a better dinner. He has a weirder dinner, maybe not. It's like he can't pay. People if they buy a car like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, actually the middle tier is better. Like an average, Toyota or Honda or Chevy, they're actually probably better made in many ways. You can't really drive a Lamborghini any way that's sensible, right? Yeah. So in this, I think
you certainly can't teach your kids to drive a Lamborghini, right?
No, right. And anyway, in any case, you see my point, which is that in our organizations, compensation should be something that we really care for, and that whatever it shows that our organization emphasizes is what it worships. And if your organization is always talking about money and it's always measuring it with money and everybody's talking about they made this and the leaders are talking about, here's what your percentage is going to be, then you're going to produce that. And if all the talk and emphasis is, well, you didn't make your quarterly number, so you're not going to get this quarterly bonus or whatever else, then you're going to create that. And so in that sense of, are you creating mercenaries or people that are just totally apathetic? Like most things, you're going to have to find the balance. It's finding the blend. If you underemphasize it, you're going to be in trouble. If you overemphasize it, then you create what sometimes people in our organization will call coin-operated people.
Right.
And we all know who those people are. And if you have a whole company full of those people, it kind of seems kind of shallow.
Right. Okay. Great. Thanks again. Happy rest of your weekend for you.
And guess what, Mikey? You and I did this conversation for Sunday. We did a conversation yesterday. We got no extra money for doing it. And in fact, for doing it for the people that watch it, we hope it was good for you because guess what?
We have the advantage.
We only did it for you for free, really.
Yeah. But we can complain in public about it if we wanted to.
But we're not complaining because that's not why we're doing it.
We just could. Yeah. No, I'm doing this conversation for you, right? I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it because leadership matters. Connection. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Thanks, Mikey.